Time somebody reaches 65, 95%, they're dead broke, they're dependent on family, or they're dependent on government.
It's important that people deal with someone to make sure to prove and provide that guaranteed lifetime income.
Welcome to the Retirement Architect, David Reyes. Our program is designed to not only provide insight, but to educate and to give you the tools you need to help you design and build a rock-solid retirement.
We'll get ready for the R word. I call it's a bad word. It is recession. And you're probably not hearing many pundits or many people on your favorite stations like CNBC or any type of business news because most of the people on those shows are selling stock. They're a continual bull market. This is David Reyes, your retirement architect, here every weekend. If you want to reach out to me, it's 1-800-611-1967. 1-800-611-1967. So thanks for being here. I want to talk today again about recessions. I want you to be ahead of the curve. I don't want you to be behind the curve because if you are, that can be disaster for your portfolio and for your retirement. And so recession, why am I concerned about recessions? Well, a couple things. First off, we're now 10 years into a bull market, which technically we're not anymore. We've had a 20% correction from the highs in the NASDAQ and the S&P, which is officially what's called a bear market. People say, well, Dave, what's a bear market? What's a bull market? And a bull market is when the market's going up. And a bear market is when the market's going down. And officially, a bear market is when the market's gone from a top to a bottom, a minimum of 20%. Now, that's arbitrary. You know, I have different ways I look at when we're in a negative market, when the market has shifted. It's not an absolute number because that'd be ridiculous. I mean, that's just kind of a rule of thumb. I think we've been in a bear market for probably 3 to 6 months at a minimum now. October is when we had the high of the market going into December, was down about 20%. And now we've recovered about half that loss. And the problem is when you have a market that's shifted like it has right now, in my opinion, and a lot of people a lot smarter than me, is opinion, is that these rallies you have, they're called bear market rallies. They're vicious. And they fool people into thinking that the market's okay. It's okay to get back into the water. So when you have like a 20% decline and you have a 10% move, 10, 12% move in 6 weeks, and you had like Netflix fall 30% and be up 30% in a 6-week period. I mean, there's been a lot of stocks that have done that. And if you own those stocks, you're still underwater, significantly underwater. Because if you're down 50%, let's say in a stock, and some of you own stocks that have done this, you know, you have to get 100% to get back to even. So if you get 50% gain in you say, oh, David, I lost 50%. Now I made 50%. I'm back to even. No. Half of 100 is 50, and 50% of 50 is $25, or now a total of $75. So you're still 25% underwater. Think about that for a minute. You own a stock, it goes down 50%. You make 50% back, you're 25% down. Really? And so that people don't realize that the math that's why you want to avoid catastrophic losses. So we're not if you own securities, if your portfolio is predominantly stocks or the volatility is too much for you, now's a perfect time to reallocate the portfolio because you've had a gift, what I call it, that the market has now recovered about 10, 12% from the bottom. So it's not a time to get all excited. It's a time to take advantage of a reallocation or rebalancing the portfolio. So again, why do I think we're in a recession or we're going to be in a recession sooner than later? Number one is interest rates. Interest rates are the driver of economic growth and contraction of economies. So the Federal Reserve has raised rates several times going from July of 2016. We had basically zero interest rate policy now today where we have about 2.5% federal funds rates. So what that means in English is the fact that rates have risen, and what happens is it increases the price of mortgages, auto loans, consumer loans, corporate debt. All these things are headwinds, and the biggest headwinds for stocks and consumers. So that's the biggest tell. So that's a big issue. Of course, you have China, which is a problem, the tariffs. More importantly, China's been slowing. China's stock market's down over 30, 35% from its highs. So that market's been crashing for almost a year now. Forget about tariffs. And then you have the German DAX is down 20, 30%. Europe is slowing. I just read a report here from the IMF, which deals with the International Monetary Fund. And they're basically saying that we're going to have slow growth across the world, which we are. It's something I've been talking about for a while. So interest rates is a big one. Corporate earnings are another one. The corporate earnings peaked in about 2018, in the second quarter of 2018, and now most prognosticators said for the first quarter of 2000 or the fourth quarter of 2018, you were talking about 6-8% growth in earnings, and now we're talking 1-2% going into next year. So anytime you have earnings kind of roll over like they are, that's another tell. So all these things, I could go on and on and on. Goldman Sachs had just came out with a report about a month ago, and they're saying it's about a 50% probability of a recession in the next 6 to 12 months. So if you want to learn how to avoid these types of situations and avoid, these times where we're in markets where it's difficult to navigate, if you want to get a second opinion from me and review your portfolio, look at what you have, look at ways to mitigate risk, look at ways to make sure you're paying the least amount of tax as possible. Make sure you have an income plan. We do laws for our clients. We do it for prospective clients as well. So if you'd like to sit down with me personally, give me a call, 1-800-611-1967. That's 1-800-611-1967. Or go to reyesplan.com. That's REYES plan.com. And I'd be more than happy to sit down with you. So what happens typically is the markets will roll over or fall, usually about 6 to 12 months. They'll peak before a recession. I think we've already hit that. Let's say October was the month, because that was the top of the market before it went down 20%. You're looking at now, March to, let's just say, the end of the year. Sometime in 2019, there's a high probability of recession. And I know that doesn't sound realistic because of what's happening with the economy, with unemployment. That is what I believe is going to happen based upon experience and just people that I rely on, that I follow, that are, again, are a lot smarter than I am, but want to make sure that you're protected. So, how do we recession-proof our portfolio? How do we make sure that we're not affected? I mean, a lot of you I met with during the fourth quarter of 2018, I'll tell you, people's portfolios got devastated. I met with clients, I talked about this on other shows, that were moving money from our firm, from another firm to our firm. So that money in transit, I had a client that had about $2 million coming over, and they lost about $300,000 just in the transfer. That's how fast this stuff happens. There's an old saying in markets that markets go up like a stair step, and they fall down like an elevator. So it's hard. If you're not prepared for this, you can get really beat up. In October, the fourth quarter was a perfect example. The market from top to bottom dropped 20% in basically less than 3 months. So if you're on the wrong side of that and you're too aggressive with your portfolio, you're really going to get hurt by that. And in meeting with you, I will tell you, most of you have way, way more risk than you think you do. Typically, when I do an analysis of your portfolio, I would say the average person out there, the average person listening to me right now, would lose about 30% in a 2008 type financial crisis or recession, and you just have no idea. There was a study that I read just the other day, which I think was generous. It said 1 in 5 retirees have no idea what they own. I'll tell you, it's probably 90% of you don't really understand what you own and don't understand the risk that is associated with what you own. So again, part of what we do in our second opinion is the first thing I do is look at your risk. And most of you, again, you're talking about 30% max losses during severe bear markets or severe recessions, and we're quite due for one. Second thing we do is we're going to do a fee analysis. Most of you are overpaying in fees, typically including mutual fund cost and advisor fees and all that. You're looking at an average cost about 3.5%. Put that in perspective, on $1 million portfolio, that's $35,000 a year. So we're going to do the fee analysis. We're also going to do a complimentary retirement income projections for you to help you to make sure you never run out of money in retirement. We're also going to do a written plan. We'll do all that complimentary for you as a second opinion. You don't have to hire us. We'll do that for you. People say, David, why would you do that? Because it's usually like a 3 meeting, more than 3 hours. The time we spend is about 10 hours between planning and appointments. But I've found over time, if you're willing to go through this process with me, there's a high probability you'll hire us. And if you don't, that's okay. So if you want to take advantage of our free complimentary second opinion, again, no cost, very, very thorough, give me a call, 1-800-611-1967. That's 1-800-611-1967. Or go to reyesplan.com. That's REYES plan.com. And also you can go to our YouTube page, which is Reyes Financial Architecture. I believe that's correct. Crystal, I'll verify. We were laughing before we started today, and we have a workshop that's coming up this week, and I would invite you, but it's already full. And I kept saying the wrong place, so I'm going to ask her next time because I told her it was her fault. She's hearing me speak, and she doesn't correct me, so it's not my fault, of course. So I'm going to talk. Yeah, I'm going to talk. This segment, I wanted to talk more about how to protect your portfolio. So what we're going to do is, hang on, I'm going to discuss with you how to recession-proof your portfolio to ensure this type of volatility you don't have to worry about. Our clients, I don't get one phone call. When the market dropped 20%, I get no phone calls, zero, none, because the fact if you have a proper plan and then you're comfortable with what you have, you can see your statements too. It's pretty simple. You're not going to freak out. So I don't want you to panic. So hang on for next segment. This is David Reyes, your retirement architect.